I broke a bit.
Yeah, so it looks like the reason I broke it is because my pilot hole, apparently I didn't get all the way through under here, and then it bottomed out and just snapped it. But it looks like there might not be that. My finger looks huge. Looks like there might not be that much of the bit in there, so maybe I can get that out of there somehow. I don't think that's gonna do it. You know what? My brother gave me some hemostats. I wonder if those will fit in there. Don't ask why my brother had hemostats. Nope, those are way too big. Ah. Well, there goes my mechanical pencil. Okay, I tapped at it some more with my my punch, and I may have shattered it a little more, but it's like jammed down in there. So I think I'm gonna flip this over and maybe tap it from the other side, see if I can get the pieces to fall out. All right, you can see now on the underside where I just barely, I almost made it all the way through, but not quite. I think I'm gonna tap at this with my center punch now and see if maybe I can get that little piece to fall out. And I'm gonna tape this little bin underneath. That way I can see if anything actually does fall out. All right, nothing of any significance fell out. I'm gonna try to drill in there a little, but you can't really drill a drill bit. They're both hardened steel. And so I could end up just mangling this hole or breaking another bit. But I can't think of anything else to do, so. Well, I'm through. But not really in the right place. Okay, I have lost track of what parts of this I have filmed. So what I ended up having to do was, I mean, you can see how mangled it is now. But I was able to drill to either side of where that little piece of bit was stuck in there. And then I put a small screwdriver right across it and then tapped it out. So now I am all the way through. Hello. But what I can do is drill this out now, and I can just use a longer screw and put a nut on the other side. Gotta do what you gotta do. So, in the end, my solution, it ended up being just using a longer machine screw and putting a nut on the other side and, deciding it would be fine because nobody was ever gonna see it. There. And no one will ever see it. But then I thought more about it and realized, well, the whole point of this big metal plate is to provide a solid structural base for the robot. So once I get this installed and get everything all squared up, I don't ever have to remove this again. And odds are I'll probably never want to remove any of the T-track for any reason. But if I do, I don't want to have to potentially remove the plate to try to get underneath to get to that nut. So my next thought was I can drill the hole out a little bit more and fill it with some JB weld and then tap that. And then I can, screw into the JB weld. And that's totally possible. You can thread, you can tap JB Weld. However, this is only a 632 thread. It's not really reliable to put a real fine thread in JB Weld like that. At first I thought it's no big deal, it's just holding down the T-track, but then I realized, I'm going to be putting clamps in this T-track, and it's going to be exerting upward force on the T-track. So these do need to have some hold in them. So what I have now decided is that, well, I got myself one of these insert threads, and it's got this this big coarse thread on the outside that's meant to, you know, go into wood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out this hole further to give this some room, and then I'm going to JB Weld this whole thing into the hole. And then I've got myself a real metal thread to screw my screw into. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to hit the hole with this jeweler's file a few times, add some notches just to give the hole a little more tooth for the JB Weld. Tape off the area to keep it clean. And I'm doing this to the underside as well. And some tape on the T-track also to keep it from being welded to anything. Alright, I'm not going to need very much of this. I took Adam Savage's advice and picked up some of these wooden skewers from my local restaurant supply, and they really do come in handy. I threaded the screw in here just to have something to hold on to. Line this up. Alright, I only got two hands here, so I will explain what's going on off camera. First, I'm getting JB Weld all over everything. Secondly, I'm screwing in some of these other screws to make sure that the T-track is lined up correctly with this hole. I'm going to insert this from underneath. Let me get, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to insert the skewer in the top of the insert thread to try to prevent JB Weld from getting inside. Of course, I just got JB Weld all over the end of the thing. Okay. Alright, here's what I'll do. Stick this in here first. Now we go in. Here we go. Take the stick out. Got to remove the screw from the bottom. Now this will tighten it to the underside of the T-track, but the insert thread can still come out of that hole. So I've got to make sure that the T-track stays down. Oh, I want to make sure this spacing remains correct. Just grab a piece of wood, a couple of clamps, hold it down, and we'll wait for that to set up. All right, it's the next day. Should be fully cured. that is just slightly proud of the top. So and I'm just going to clean up the threads after having ground it on both ends. Tappy tap tap. Fantastic. All right, so like I said before, I could have just put a nut on the underside, but when it's something I'm going to be using a lot and going to have for a long time, I don't mind putting in the extra effort to do it right. Now, there are other ways to fix a hole like this. Most commonly is just to drill the hole out larger and re-tap it and use a bigger screw size. But that wasn't really an option here. Number 6 is what fits in this T slot. I maybe could have gone up to a number 8 if I had drilled this out, but I could. There's not much room in here. Besides, the biggest problem was that after I had dug out that bit that I broke off and had to drill around it, this hole was no longer centered up correctly. So I thought the best option was just to drill it out bigger and then use that insert, which I could position wherever I needed within the hole and epoxy that into place. So I hope you enjoyed another little behind the scenes view of what goes on here, normally off camera, off the main channel anyway. Even though this thing is already finished in your timeline, in my timeline, I still have a lot of work to do. So I'm gonna get started on finishing this. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. See you soon.